Our first speaker is Mr. Toomas Tamsar, who has been the head of the Estonian Chamber of Trade and Commerce. He has also spoken at length about what kind of workforce we need, what our labor force should be like already today and not in the future, because we have a lack of skilled workers. But now, Mr. Tamsar, before we get to the future, will tell us about where we are coming from, where we are now. So I would now like to pass the floor to the CEO of the Estonian Employers Confederation. Good morning, everyone. The minister started by talking about the future right away, so I started thinking, why am I here? Well, first of all, because I'm the CEO of the Estonian Employers Confederation, and it's my job to greet people at events like this. But the other reason is because Dia told me that I had to come. Dia, well, yes, I was, and in '97 I was the head of the Chamber of Trade and Commerce, and we worked with Dia then, and I have never been able to say no to her. And when she has invited me here today, I had to say yes. So when we're looking back, what do we have to look back on? And we have young people graduating whose skills don't match the labor force. So we had to do something to change the situation. And if I didn't give you any background, you might not know what time period I'm talking about, but this quote was from 1997. And we have come a very long way, and the situation is quite different than it was in 1997. But the same quote has been said by European employers in 2018. A lot of their systems might be ahead of ours, but they still perceive the situation the same way. The labor needs and education, what they provide, it still doesn't match up enough. And I think this is a problem that will never disappear completely. So the year was 1997. There were more businesses complaining that vocational education was not training the right skills. And then the Chamber of Commerce hired a project manager who started to talk about different stakeholders, how to change the curriculum so that it would work better. Then we had to develop agreements between employers about what the skills are that graduates need to have and how to assess whether those skills are good enough or not. And that work went surprisingly fast. When we started in 1997 in the first half, then by Christmas, the government had already approved the main principle that we are working in this area, and the Ministry of Social Affairs ordered from the Chamber of Commerce the development of an Estonian qualifications system. They created a qualifications reform group, and already in April 98, we had some results to show them. And by Christmas 98, 18 standards were handed over as Christmas presents. So work developed very fast, and what was remarkable about that time was that all that work was done in the private sector. The government supported us, they financed our activities, and that time was very important for us. We didn't have any money, the government gave us money. In the private sector at that time, there was a lot more enthusiasm and there was a lot more trust too. So we have a great debt of gratitude to the ministers in education and social affairs from those times who really supported us. Schools, when it comes to cooperation, were very hopeful, very positively minded, and the times were difficult in the sense that the occupational system, well, we had the order, so to speak, come down from Moscow, and Estonia had never had to do it ourselves. So schools were very much interested in creating a new system, and as today, the preparedness of schools to work with employers was very good. So who else supported us? We were supported very heavily by PARE, PARE, which was the European funding system, and then the German chambers. And Kiel, first and foremost, we had a good cooperation, and we got the chance to see how they do things. And most importantly, Tia Randmäe, whom I mentioned, I will mention you again, don't worry about that. Tia was at home with her child at the time, and she was doing this and that for us at home that she could. She recruited new members, and then she came back to work and wanted to have a higher salary. And then an acquaintance of hers had invited her to work with her in Russia to sell canned fish. And I don't remember that myself, but Tia told me later that I told her, Tia, you're not going anywhere. Just figure out what you want to do and do it. And Tia figured out that since we were working in that field, she would continue with it and take the full burden of it. So today the big question for me is, do the employers, has the understanding of the employers about their role in the qualification system changed? Do we see our role not as commissioning a very stringent party, but are we more partners? So I think that the role has changed, especially in fields where we have very big companies and who have taken on a lot of responsibility. We have handed out 135,000 qualifications. We have 104 people who hand out these standards. So in summary, what I would like to say is the system was built for a long time. It's good that it got off the ground, but it has to be constantly worked on so that it doesn't become its own burden. But it's a very important system because it's a state system that the state has not built directly itself. It has supported building it, but it is something that was started with a private sector initiative, and that's a big thing. For the future, it's always also critical for employers to contribute and recognize the system. With the situation as it is in our work market, it's tough to find people at all sometimes. So recognizing those people and recognizing the enthusiasm of those people who have contributed to their development and their education, it's very recommendable. If we as employers don't do it, nobody will. And it's very critical for the state to provide adequate funding in the future as well, especially for occupational testing exams. And this is a major concern that we have heard about. We want these qualification exams to also be independent in the future, because if it's not independent, then we have lost a lot of the work that we have done. Another concern in 2018 is that when it comes to vocational education and its funding, we have applied for more funding based on results, based on performance, and we haven't gotten too far with that. Also, in our latest manifesto, we have stated that the state has to be a much stronger commissioner. The state in what they are commissioning is actually losing clarity, and we don't understand that very well. And in the end, the most important thing is people. So I would like to, on behalf of employers, thank all those people who have, first of all, studied and made an effort and acquired qualification standards, certificates. So all this effort that has been made towards building this qualification system, that has all been thanks to their own efforts and their employers. The volunteers that we have, they contribute on average 3.5 working days per year. And then I would like to thank everybody from the Estonian Qualifications Authority and all the related organizations, ministries, schools, partners. And then, in conclusion, I would like to come back to where I started when Tia hauled me onto the stage here. In hindsight, if I did something well in '97, is I didn't let Tia leave, which was a very good thing. Because those people who figure out and develop systems, those who have ideas, there are plenty of those. But the real difference comes in when people actually do something, when they dedicate themselves daily and they don't give up when problems arise. Tia, Kaiti, everyone who I might not know personally but who have contributed so much over the past 20 years, thank you very much. Happy birthday and all the best for the future. Thank you very much. And we would also like to thank you. And as a present, you and today's presenters will receive a particular clockwork thing. It's jewelry that has been made out of old clocks. Thank you very much.